powerful, your word's unstoppable. All things are possible in you. God of exceedingly, God of abundantly, more than we ask or think. Lord, you will never fail. Your name is powerful, your word's unstoppable. All things are possible in you. Make way through the waters, walk me through the fire. Do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. Shut the mouths of the lions, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. I believe in you, God, I believe in you. There is no fear, 'cause I believe. There is no doubt, 'cause I have seen your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over. I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of the night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I know that we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Love so undeniable, I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still into love. Love, love, you're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am.
I thought this morning, since we're speaking today about melons, leeks, onions, and garlic, that I would come to you from the kitchen. We're continuing this morning in our series entitled Transitions. We're looking at some of the principles from the story of the Exodus that are helpful in going through any kind of transition in a healthy way. This morning I have to start first with a warning. This message may mess with your appetite. The message has to do with appetite and preferences. I have had the privilege in my lifetime to do quite a bit of traveling. So far, I have set foot in some 44 countries. One of the things that I've learned is that people have appetites for various foods, depending upon where they live. The sweetest thing that I have ever tasted in my life came on a visit to India. These little round balls didn't look too dangerous until I bit into one. I had a sugar explosion that about knocked me off my feet. I'd have to be very hungry, before I ever put another one of those little balls in my mouth. At one meal in Africa, my wife looked over at me and whispered, "What's in there?" And I said to her, "That would be chicken feet." And I could see her appetite turning into a feeling of sickness before my very eyes. I've mentioned before that my wife and I have lived for 3 years in the Middle East. Needless to say, we've experienced some rather unusual foods. I thought that seeing a goat's head at a meal was unusual. And then sitting on the ground around a huge platter of rice with a goat head on top, someone asked me if I would like some goat brain. I think you probably know what my answer was. And then, just when I thought I saw it all, I began learning about food preferences from the Filipinos who worked at the hospital where I was employed. They said to me, "You have to try balut." By then I knew enough to ask, "What is it?" So they showed me a picture of it. Balut is a 14 to 21 day old developing bird embryo. Then they said to me, "It's better if you eat it in the dark so you don't see what you're eating." Believe me when I say this, there is not enough darkness in the world to entice me to eat balut. What I found is, there's nothing like being in another country to get you to start craving the food that you used to have. And so things like turkey, pork and sauerkraut, apple pie, these things help me understand my own sense of appetite and longing for food. The Latin word appetitus means desire for. It's the root of our English word appetite. We usually think of appetite in regards to food, but we can have an appetite for all kinds of things. Another way to think about it is that we all have preferences. Most of us celebrated the holidays this year not how we would have planned. Some were craving the past, Christmas like it used to be. I'd like to suggest that this season and what we have felt in this season has made us more open today to hear what it is that God has to say to us about our appetites and preferences. In the story of the Exodus, there is a case study of appetite and preferences. It deals with longing for food, but has much wider implications for our spiritual lives. As I read the story, allow God to connect the story with your own life, your own journey of transition, your own appetites and preferences. Here's the story. The rabble with them began to crave other food. And again, the Israelites started wailing and said, "If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost. Also the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, the garlic. But now we have lost our appetite. We never see anything but this manna." The manna was like coriander seed and looked like resin. The people went around gathering it and then ground it in a hand mill or crushed it in a mortar. They cooked it in a pot or made it into loaves. And it tasted like something made with olive oil. When the dew settled on the camp at night, the manna also came down. Moses heard the people of every family wailing at the entrance to their tents. The Lord became exceedingly angry, and Moses was troubled. He asked the Lord, "Why have you brought this trouble on your servant? What have I done to displease you that you have put the burden of all these people on me? Did I conceive these people? Did I give them birth? Why do you tell me to carry them in my arms as a nurse carries an infant, to the land you promised on oath to their ancestors? Where can I get meat for all these people? They keep wailing at me, 'Give us meat to eat.' I cannot carry all these people by myself. The burden is too heavy for me. If this is how you're going to treat me, please go ahead and kill me if I have found favor in your eyes, and do not let me face my own ruin. Tell the people, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow, when you will eat meat. The Lord heard you when you wailed, 'If only we had meat to eat. We were better off in Egypt.' Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will eat it. You will not eat it for just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 10 or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and you loathe it, because you have rejected the Lord who is among you, and have wailed before him, saying, 'Why did we ever leave Egypt?'" Now a wind went out from the Lord and drove quail in from the sea. It scattered them up to 2 cubits deep all around the camp, as far as a day's walk in any direction. All that day and night, and all the next day, the people went out and gathered quail. No one gathered less than 10 omers. Then they spread them out all around the camp. But while the meat was still between their teeth, and before it could be consumed, the anger of the Lord burned against the people, and he struck them with a severe plague. Therefore the place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who had craved other food. I have been part of the church since the first Sunday that I was carried to church as a newborn baby. My dad was a pastor, so I saw things that most other kids never saw in the church. And then For the last 45 years, I have served as a pastor myself. So for over 66 years, I have had a close-up view of congregational life and people's personal spiritual lives. One of the things that I have seen trip up people and trip up congregations is nostalgia. A wistful or excessively sentimental yearning for return to or some past period or irrecoverable condition. Put bluntly, longing for the way things used to be. As a congregation, we are going through a huge transition, getting ready for a new pastor. On top of that, we're having to do church in ways different because of a pandemic. As individuals, we are living through one of the greatest disruptions of our lives, leaving us with a yearning for the way it used to be. In this time comes a warning from God. Remember the story of the Exodus. This is what it says in the New Testament. These things, the difficulties, the things that people went through, happened to them as examples and were written down as warnings for us, on whom the culmination of the ages has come. So if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. Let me try to apply some of the warnings found in Exodus to our own situation. First warning: holding on to the preferences of the past will not allow us to appreciate the gifts that God is giving us today. In the text it says, "But now we have lost our appetite. We never see anything but this manna." Every one of us develops preferences as we go through life. One thing that is liked or wanted more than another thing. So, I personally prefer apple pie over balut. We have preferences in our individual lives, and we also have preferences when it comes to congregational life. We can cling to our preferences, even if it means returning to Egypt rather than letting God take us where He wants us to go. Another way to put it is that sometimes we prefer captivity to freedom. One of the signs of maturity as an individual and also as a congregation is this: how easy is it for us to let go of our preferences for the sake of following Jesus? I sometimes wonder in my own life how often I have desired melons, leeks, onions, and garlic when God was trying to serve me manna. Second warning: God is continually preparing His children for life in the next season. Listen to this one in the text. "And it," the manna, "tasted like something made with olive oil." Now, you've probably read through that text many, many times in your life. But there's something in this passage that would be easy to overlook. You see, at this period of time, there were major trade routes as a way for countries to exchange goods that were not found in a particular nation. The Mediterranean basin, which is where Moses was leading the people towards, was known for olive trees and olive oil. Olive trees were not a native tree of Egypt. So Egypt would trade some of its produce with its neighbors for olive oil. Did you notice that it says that the manna tasted like something made with olive oil? God was giving the people a taste for where He was taking them. God has a habit of helping us get a taste for where He's taking us next. We, like the children of Israel, can be longing for the food of the past or gaining an appetite for the food of the future. Let me give you a personal illustration. Years back, when I was doing my Doctor of Ministry degree in Marriage and Family, we were dealing a lot with a subject matter, that subject matter being the blended family, and how to help families blend together, because most blended families end up in another divorce. At the time, I was living in a traditional family. Little did I know that within 5 years, my wife would be dead and I'd be working at blending a family. Becoming familiar with blending a family was a little bit like olive oil. It wasn't my preference, but it was God getting me ready for the next stage of the journey, when I would be working at blending a family. Another warning. Leadership can never satisfy the preferences of the past while leading into the future. If you hear in the text Moses saying, "Where can I get meat for all these people?" because that was their preference. The effects of personal preference is usually felt the strongest by whoever is leading. Moses knew that it was an impossible task to meet the expectations of the people who were following him. The undue pressure of the preferences of the people will wear out a leader and even cause a leader to question God's call in the first place. The Marsh Creek congregation is going through a time of great transition. If you want to be kind to your leaders, keep your preferences in check. And be watching for how God may be giving you an appetite for olive oil when you might be dreaming about melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. Another warning. Satisfying our preferences can lead to deadly consequences. And in the text is this rather sober verse that says, "There they buried the people who had craved other food." When people want meat, when God is handing out manna, it's a dangerous place to be. I don't think that having preferences is a bad thing. However, when those preferences become more desired than what's important to God, it's dangerous. Personal preferences can be detrimental to the followers of God. And to God, that's a big thing. The people preferred meat to manna, and God gave them a buffet of quail. But they died while they were tasting what they had preferred. Therefore, the place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who had craved other food. The very name of the place, Kibroth Hattaavah, translated means graves of craving. If we're honest with ourselves, we know that many of the things we prefer aren't really that helpful to our soul. I'd like to close with a story that was told by Peter Kreeft. It's a simple story, but it has a profound message. Listen to these words. The call of the nightingale. There lives in us, deep down in the heart, a little nightingale that keeps calling for its birdseed. It's a bothersome but infinitely precious little bird. The nightingale lives way down under a host of larger, louder animals, each demanding its food, so it's easy to ignore. It has a still, small voice. But when we ignore it, even if we feed all the other animals, which is impossible, we are not satisfied, because we are that nightingale and we are starving. So, We try to quiet this terrible tiny voice. We feed the nightingale dog food and cat food and monkey food, and he says especially monkey food. But it keeps crying for nightingale food, and we cannot find nightingale food. Yet though we do not feed it, it does not die. We can muffle it, but we cannot kill it. Pray with me. Gracious God, we come to you as fragile human beings filled with a great repertoire of appetites and preferences. We confess that so often we long for the things of the past when you are gently leading us into the future. Give us today our daily bread, and give us more of an appetite for you and less of an appetite for what you give us. Feed our soul with the bread of life, so we might have life to the full. In the name of Jesus, amen.